Good day everyone! For our today's video, I will be discussing with you the psychomotor domain, proponent by Simpson, Dave, and Harrow. Before, we have already studied the cognitive domain, which involves mental skills for an effective acquisition of knowledge. But here in psychomotor domain, physical or motor skills are something that are necessary for the students to have a desirable learning outcomes. You know what? Cognitive and psychomotor must work well together to secure the acquisition of knowledge. Let's start with Simpson-Bloom's taxonomy. It has 7 categories from perception, which is the most simple, to origination, which is the most complex situation or learning process. So let's start with perception, which is the most simple one. Here in perception, awareness is merely takes place. Kinakailangan natin dito ng ating 5 senses for us to acquire knowledge. However, we also need a stimulus or a thing from external environment na dadaan sa ating 5 senses to effectively learn. For instance, the students see the instructional materials. So nakita nila itong 4 na sign na ito. Division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. So, nakita na nila ito. So, here in perception, they have already known or familiarized with the topic that we are going to discuss, which is for operations in mathematics. So, that's why ang aking objectives in perception, the students will be able to detect what we are going to discuss. Pangalawa natin ay set. So dito sa set, students are motivated already, physically, mentally, psychologically, and emotionally. So meaning to say, they are ready to apply or learn new things. That's why here, my objective is the students will be able to begin answering the equations that they have seen. Kung kanina, nakita lamang nila kung ano yung aming pag-aaralan, pero hindi pa nagsisimula ang acquisition of knowledge. Ngayon, nakakita sila ng isang operation, which is 10 minus 3. Nakita nila yung 10 minus 3 sa aking instructional materials at magsisimula na sila yung sagutan kasi motivated na sila. The third is guided response. Here, the students are already motivated to learn, but they will need a demonstration or best guidance from their instructors. So, meaning to say, or as what we all know, students are best imitators. So, having said that, kailangan muna nila lang paggagayahan. So, halimbawa, nagbigay ako ng operation, multiplication, 2 times 2, the answer would probably be 4. So, ngayon, nakita na ng estudyante kung paano ko ginawa yung operation. Ngayon, magbibigay naman ako ng panibagong equation, pero the same operation. So, halimbawa, 2 times 3. Okay, masasagutan na yan ng estudyante. Maaaring masagutan because students are diverse. They have different learning styles. So, maaaring some of them will not get along with. Hindi sabay. So, kaya dito sa guided response, maaari pang magkamali ang estudyante. But some of them will get the right answer, which is 2 times 3. The answer would probably be 6. That's why here, ang aking objective ay the students will be able to perform the same operation given by their teachers. Fourth is mechanism. Here in mechanism, students already have basic proficiency about multiplication na operation. Kasi yun yung, ibig sabihin, mastered na nila ang multiplication. That's why here, my objective is the students will be able to multiply numbers from 1 to 10. Our fifth category for this Bloom's taxonomy by Simpson, that would probably be complex overt response. So, it is just as almost similar with mechanism. However, here, gumagamit tayo ng adverb and adjective para ma-emphasize natin yung verb or yung learning outcome ng isang estudyante sa sa bagong competency. So, ngunit maaari pang magkamali ang estudyante. Kung ang na-master ng estudyante kanina ay multiplication table at perform ko sila ng division, maaari silang magkamali. Kasi ang basic proficiency lang nila or basic proficiency lamang nila ay about lamang sa multiplication table. That's why here, my objective is the students will be able to accurately recite the multiplication table from 1 to 10. So here in adaptation, dito kahit baguhin ko na ang operation, talagang makasasabay na ang mga bata. Let us suppose na naipaliwanag ko na sa mga bata ang 4 na operation, which are multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Let us suppose that I have already discussed with them these 4 operations. That's why here in adaptation, ang aking objective ay the students will be able to perform all operations given by their teacher. Our last category for Simpson Psychomotor domain is origination. Dito, mastered na ng mga estudyante, di ba? Master in adaptation, mastered na ng estudyante ang 4 natin na operation. So, pagdating sa origination, talagang mastered na nila ang bagong competency, itong 4 na operation. That's why here, the students will be able to create or to make their own trick on how to easily calculate the given equation. And that is my objective for this category, which is the students will be able to create or make their own tricks on how to easily calculate the given equations by their teachers. So, I have already discussed with you the psychomotor domain proponent by Simpson. Let us now proceed to discuss or to talk about the Day psychomotor domain. Here in Bloom's taxonomy proponent by Dave, it has 5 categories. Kung kanina merong 7 kay Simpson, dito naman ay meron lamang 5 na categories. Imitation, manipulation, precision, articulation, and the last one is naturalization. So it is just almost similar with Simpson, from a simple to a more complex learning. From imitation to naturalization. Did you get it? Okay, let's start. Our first category, that would probably be imitation. So what does imitation? Imitation, from the word of itself, imitate, which is the ability of a person to copy something after someone else. Ginagaya na lamang nila pagkatapos ng isang tao or na isang bagay. Halimbawa, kung kaya't ang akin ditong objective ay, at the end of the lesson, students will be able to copy the lesson that have written by their teachers on the board. Yun yung aking objective. Gagayahin na lamang ng estudyante yung nakasulat sa board. They will just copy it. Okay? So, for imitation also, halimbawa, I already explained the 4 operations in imitation. Dito sa imitation, na ipaliwanag ko na sa imitation. So, as what we all know, students are best imitators. They will already, or they will easily learn these 4 operations. Maari na talaga nila itong malaman. Dito pa lamang sa imitation. Kasi pinaliwanag ko na kaya madali na nila itong malalaman. Kaya pagdating dito sa manipulation, so, which is the ability of a person to manipulate something, or kaya ang akin dito sa manipulation na objective ay, at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to manipulate 4 operations. Kasi alam na nila dun sa imitation pa lamang na ipaliwanag ko na kung ano yung topic. So pagdating dito, kaya na nilang i-manipulate yung 4 na operations dito sa manipulation. However, they might get wrong. So, our third category is precision. So, in the other word, exact. So, meaning to say the answer that we will get from our student is accurate from what they have learned. So, that's why here, my objective is the students will be able to perform all operations with a high sureness of applying what they have learned. The students will be able to perform all operations with a high sureness of applying what they have learned from our discussion. So, our fourth is articulation. So, from the word of itself, articulate. That's why here, ang aking objective is, at the end of the lesson, students will be able to create their own multiplication table, addition table, division table, and subtraction table from 1 to 10. our fifth category for this psychomotor domain by Dave is naturalization. So meaning to say, dapat yung apat na operations maging natural na lamang sa estudyante. They will no longer get confused or frustrating about this for operations. Kailangan natural na lamang sa kanilang pagkukwenta. At yun ay natural na nga talaga sa kanila pagdating dito sa category na ito. That's why here, my objective is that students will be able to calculate the given equation by their teachers without using any gadgets. But they will use what they have learned from our discussion. I have already discussed with you the two psychomotor domains proponent by Simpson and Dave. For the latter part of this video, I will be discussing with you the psychomotor domain proponent by Harrow. It has 6 categories, which are reflex movement, fundamental movements, perceptual abilities, physical abilities or fitness, skilled movements, and the last one is the non-discursive communication. So, let's begin. So, let's start with the most simple one, which is reflex movement. So, what is reflex movement? So, it is the first level of the psychomotor domain proponent by Harrow. So, reflex movement, from the word of itself, reflex. So, reflexive. So, meaning to say, voluntary action. These are unlearned things. So, having said that, meaning to say, hindi na ito pinag-aaralan. Kusa na itong natututuhan ng mga estudyante. Tulad na lamang ng paghikab ng mga bata. Paghawak ng kamay ng mga bata. Kahit nga tayo nahigab pa rin ngayon. Dumidighal tayo kapag tayo ay busog na. Pagkamot natin sa ating mata. These are example of unlearned things. Okay? So, for this category, my objective is at the end of the lesson, students will be able to immediately respond to my question. Okay? The second category for this psychomotor domain by Harrow, that would probably be fundamental movements. So, my objective for this level is at the end of the lesson, students will be able to throw a ball toward the students who firstly tell the correct answer. So, the students who firstly tell the correct answers after I gave the equation or operation, siya ang makare-receive ng bola along with their reward. So, halimbawa, sinabi ko na 14 divided by 2. Okay, what's the answer? Okay, so the answer would probably be 7. So, kung sino ang estudyante na makapagsasagot na una na 7, siya ang makatatanggap ng bola. So, here in my method that I utilize, students will not find that learning mathematics is confusing and frustrating, but they will find that learning mathematics is interesting and captivating. So, the third category, which is perceptual abilities. It is just almost the same with perception. So, we are going to utilize our sensory cues or our 5 senses in order for us to master a new competency. So, yun kailangan munang dumaan ng isang stimulus sa ating 5 senses in order for us to effectively learn something or to acquire knowledge with a desirable outcome. Okay? So, my objective for this category is students will be able to recite multiplication table after reciting their instructor. So, pagkatapos ko ma-recite ang multiplication table from 1 to 10, inaasahan ko na ang aking estudyante ay mare-recite din ito ng wasto. So, ito yung ating perceptual abilities. Ginagamit nila yung kanilang listening skills and the kanilang speaking skills para sila ay matuto. Our fourth category for this psychomotor domain, that would probably be physical abilities. So, dito involve ang ating motor skills. So, para makapag-acquire or to master a new competencies by the students, they need to utilize their motor skills, which are jumping, walking. But here, I'm just going to utilize jumping para makapag-acquire ang bata o to master the new competencies, which is operations in mathematics. So, dito, halimbawa nagtanong ako sa bata na 11 plus 6. So, the answer that would probably be 17. So, the students, they will just going to jump from the first box one by one until they reach the 17th box, and they will stop standing on it. Let us just look at this short video.
The sum of 11 and 6 is equal to 17.
Skilled movements. Here in this category, the students will definitely become flexible. So here, cognitive and psychomotor must work well. So, ang aking objective for this category, students will be able to construct a mathematical sentence. Magko-construct na rito ang mga bata ng mathematical sentence. Our last category is the non-discursive communication. Here, our body movements or gestures are the one that matter. Kasi sa pamamagitan ng ating body gestures, ng our body movements, we will master or the new competencies or acquire knowledge as much as possible to have an effective learning outcomes. So, my objective for this category ay students will be able to answer my questions about multiplication table by using their fingers. So, as what we all know, we can use our fingers to multiply one-digit number. Okay? So, halimbawa, tinanong ko na 4 times 4. So, di ba, ang sagot natin ay 16. So, itikom natin yung dalawa nating hilalaki. 4 times 4, 16 yan. Pero 4 plus 4, 8. Then, times 2, the answer would probably be 16. Yes, I have already discussed with you the psychomotor domains proponent by Simpson, Dave, and Harrow. I hope you have learned something from me and you have gotten along with our topic for today's video. So, thank you for listening. Keep learning as much as you want.